Welcome back to the program. You're listening to Business in Vancouver on Roundhouse Radio 98.3. We're the daily business program from the Business in Vancouver newspaper and BIP.com. I'm Kirk Lapointe.
I'm Tyler Orton. Canada's history with France, it goes back hundreds of years, but economic ties are poised to strengthen even more with last year's implementation of the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, or CETA. With us to discuss these business links between the two countries is Kareen Rispal. She is France's ambassador to Canada. Ambassador, thank you for joining us on the show.
Bonjour.
Do you come out to Vancouver very often? Have you been out here much?
Oh, it's my third time, actually.
Yeah.
So I come as often as I can. But it's a long way from Ottawa.
It is a long way from Ottawa.
And, my mission is to travel around the country. So I love Vancouver, but there are so many other places to discover.
We're a big place. You can't drive around the way you can in France. Yeah.
Although we do have better mountains than Ottawa if you want to go skiing up at Whistler, for example.
That's true.
I will go to Whistler this weekend.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very smart. But tell us a little bit about CETA. We have this new trade agreement. It's going to have Canadian goods. 98% of them are going to come into the European Union without any tariffs at this point. Are people picking up on this? Are we seeing interest being generated over this new trade agreement that will strengthen ties between these two countries here?
Well, that's the idea. As you know, the CETA has been implemented just only for a few months. So I think that the first mission is to make people aware of this agreement. We will take lots of advantage and mutual benefits from it. Yesterday, I was visiting Hurricane Zodiac, and they explained me how they can take opportunities from this agreement. And because of the no tariffs things, they become much more competitive. So I think it's a very beneficial agreement, both for Canada, Europe, and France. And we hope to strengthen the links between France and Canada, because when you look at the figures, we are two countries and we have lots of a very deep friendship and lots of cultural links and whatever. But on the trade level, we are not where we should be.
No, I think the criticism over the years has been that despite linguistic, cultural links, in fact, Canada having an advantage over many countries in that our two countries didn't have the trading relationship because we were still stuck in an era of a great deal of tariff. What do you think a deal like this does in changing even or taking the cultural relationship to a new level?
Well, I think CETA is not only about tariffs. So, for example, you will gain access to public market, to a market of a province and municipalities. It will be much more easier for companies to send away people to work in Canada. So the mobility as well will be strengthened and developed. So it's not just about tariff. And this agreement is a very modern agreement and one of the most ambitious one, because it includes very strong norms about environment and social rules, and so I think it's a whole, and we hope that it will encourage mobility both from Canada and from France. And for me, it's always, I'm always wondering why we don't have as many Canadians in France that we would wish. And perhaps because Canadians are not traveling that much, or perhaps they only go to the US. But I hope that this will change, and perhaps France is becoming more attractive with Emmanuel Macron.
What is it about it, though? Because we have many international students here in Canada, but I don't see that we have the same number or the same proportion of Canadian students going overseas. Like, what do you think it is about maybe France that you can do to entice people?
Although my daughter's studying,
true.
She's in Lyon right now.
Yeah.
So
the time.
He's doing his part.
That's right. I'm doing my part. Yeah.
Well, in Europe, we had this fantastic program, which is called Erasmus. And Erasmus is a program where you can study, for example, in France, and then you go 1 year somewhere else in Europe, like in UK, in Germany, and then you got the credits that you need. So that's really encouraged students to go abroad to learn another language, and then these students, they become the best ambassadors of your country. So if Canadian people were coming to France, I'm sure they would be the best ambassadors of France to Canada, and that would develop all our ties.
Yes, I can tell you that the household is learning a lot about Lyon at the moment as a result of that. Tell me a little bit about the relationship of the two leaders. Mr. Macron and Mr. Trudeau, of course, share again common understanding of la francophonie. What do you think their relationship has matured as with two leaders?
Well, I think they are getting along very well, and as you know, we speak about the Provence.
Yes.
And I think it's the same kind of leader, young generation. And in France, Emmanuel Macron is a real young leader.
No kidding.
39 years old.
They're getting younger every time. It's
Exactly.
driving me crazy.
And
yeah.
I think they share the same vision of the world. They truly believe in multilateralism. They believe in openness. They want to raise the level of the living of the middle class, and they want to give opportunities to all their people.
We also have parallels between Canada and France. If you look to our neighbors to the south, maybe they're retreating a little bit more from the global stage. If you look to your neighbors to the north, they're doing the same here. Is there an opportunity for these two leaders, Macron and Trudeau, to step up on the world stage, push forward with this globalism that is a big part of their own respective campaigns here?
Yeah, actually, I have two examples. The first one was the One Planet Summit that Macron organized in France, in Paris, in last December, and it was a big meeting to really have around the table all the actors concerned by climate change, and not only states, but also companies, NGOs, province, cities. And it was a demonstration that altogether we can do something, even if one of the biggest players, the US, is withdrawing from the Paris Agreement. So there is a will, and if together we are ready to work, we can achieve big results. And the second example that comes to my mind is a G7, of course, because Canada will hold the G7 presidency, and it has started on the 1st of January this year. And in 2019, it will be France. So for 2 years, we have the real opportunity to have a common agenda and to decide to put very high on our agenda some items, like some topics like gender, like peace in the world, like security, like environment. And so we will work together a lot, and Macron and Trudeau will meet, and Macron will come for the G7, and we hope that the Prime Minister will come to France before. So we are waiting for this visit.
And
it will be very welcome.
I'm going to test your diplomatic skills for a moment. Our two leaders, of course, believe in multilateralism. To the south is a leader who seems to be pursuing more of a bilateral approach to trade and to relationships in the world. How are the three of us getting along?
Well, I think we have no choice. We need to get along. We are all allies. For example, between France and US, Macron received Trump from the beginning of his mandate in Paris. And even if we disagree on some topics, and for example, on protectionism, we work a lot together, for example, in the Middle East, and to resolve some regional crises. And on the military ground, we are allies, and we can.
Well, he wants one of your parades. He seems to.
He was impressed.
He's very impressed with the parade.
He was impressed by our
so you've changed.
Parade.
You've changed his thinking in a certain way.
So I mean, even if we have disagreement, we need to work together. And the US is a member of the UN Security Council.
Right.
So we will work on a daily basis with the US.
Long history between Canada and France, of course, but I think about maybe the business ties between British Columbia and France. They're a little bit more tenuous. Is there a reluctance for people outside Quebec and France, to look beyond those kinds of borders? What can we really do to strengthen the ties between the West Coast and what's going on in France right now?
I think it's not reluctance. I think it's more ignorance. It's true that British Columbia is very far from Paris, from France, so the West Coast is another world. But thanks to the CETA and because the world is changing, I think that people are much more aware of Vancouver, of the coast, of the business opportunities. And I'm very confident that our ties will be much more important than they were before.
Kareen Rispal is our guest. She's France's ambassador to Canada. She's visiting Vancouver right now, and we're really happy to have you with us. Tell me a little bit about what you think then are the stages ahead for strengthening the relationship. You know, the agreement now will take hold. It'll start to mature. But what else do you think bilaterally we can do, and even from a British Columbian standpoint, in order to enhance the relationship?
Well, I think we have to make this agreement very well known. So my mission is to address to French company and prove them that there are many opportunities in this country. That's why I'm traveling all the time, and I'm meeting companies, French and Canadians, and I think that the more people will know about the market, about the expertise, and we both have special expertise in certain fields. For example, French companies have we have some French companies that have a very strong expertise, for example, here in waste management, in infrastructures, everything related to renewable energies. So we have to build on this shared expertise to strengthen our ties.
You know, you bring up the fact that we do need to strengthen these ties. I'm wondering, though, if we have an example like Essilor, it purchased Clearly Contacts, $430 million a few years ago. Is that opening the eyes for some of the business opportunities that could exist between these two countries? Are more people becoming aware of the opportunities here in Vancouver just because of a mega blockbuster deal such as that one?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And as I told you, I think there is nothing against British Columbia. People just need to get here.
Accept our distance.
Yeah, to get here and to look at the environment, at the people, at the opportunities. And that's what's missing and that's what's lacking for now. So we have to work a lot together.
Seems like we need a replacement for the Concorde to get people here faster.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much.
That is Kareen Rispal. She is France's ambassador to Canada. And you've been listening to Business in Vancouver on Roundhouse Radio 98.3. I'm Tyler Orton.
And I'm Kirk LaPointe. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break.